Hi, my name is William, but you can call me Ben. Yeah, I know, but just go with it. My new name for the internet is Kid Retro 2001. Now, the reason I wanted to review old video games was because many people on the internet inspired me to collect and play retro video games, such as NES, Sega, Atari. So I decided to collect video games. I'm still collecting video games, and I'm limited to how many video games I have.
So far, I have Atari 2600, NES, Super NES, Sega Genesis, Game Boy, GameCube, 3DS, and the original Xbox. The console can't read the games anymore, so I need to get a new one. I was born in 2001, and with my parents, I didn't grow up with these new gadgets, sayings, and other different stuff. So I was accustomed to old movies, games, figures, and lots more. And thanks to my dad, I was very interested in Japanese monster movies and TV shows, such as Godzilla, Gamera, and the Ultraman series. I even collected the figures of the monsters. It's another hobby of mine. I even made my own comic books, but that's another story. Let's move on to my first game review. When I was a young kid, my mom and sister had a game console called the Sega Genesis. This was the first old video game console I ever played. The games I played the most on the Genesis was Sonic, Clay Fighter, and some of the Simpsons games, such as Krusty Super Funhouse and Virtual Bart. I still have the same Sega Genesis console. I've recorded the video on the actual Sega console, but it's all the way in the laundry room where I also keep the box NES and the Atari 2600. So I'm going to review the game with an awesome console called the Retro Duo. I got the Retro Duo about a couple years ago. This console plays at least 2 games in the same console. It plays NES and Super NES. The controller port only allows Super NES controllers. Supposedly, it also plays Super Famicom games in the Super NES slot, but I haven't tried it out yet. If you don't know what Famicom is, in a nutshell, it's a Japanese NES. Now let's move on to the game. Now the game I've had a grudge against since I was a kid was a game with a superhero. It's also a beat-em-up game. Now if you're not familiar with him, his name is The Tick.
I am the Tick!
In the early 90s, the animated series was a hit on phones.
You don't fight destiny, no sir!
I was so addicted to the show, I even dressed up as the Tick for Halloween one year. Aw, isn't that cute? Shut up. Then in 2003, there was a live-action series with Patrick Warburton as the Tick. The first series was great. The second series wasn't so great. The first series was geared more towards kids. The second one was geared towards adults. But the Tick is still popular because he's in comic books. Now when the animated series was out, how did they ever manage to put this into a video game? Let's find out. There's also a Super NES game. Both are the same but with different music. Now with this game, it was extremely difficult for me. Since I'm playing a Sega game on the Retro Duo, I have to use an adapter that plays Sega Genesis games that are made for Super NES. And it's made by the same company, Retrobit. Now let's play the Tick. The Fox intro is so loud that it can pierce your ears. Does it really have to be that loud? It kinda stinks that if you're playing this game, someone might hear it and wonder what the heck you might be doing. You might be starting a garage band or pounding a wall with a hammer. When you're in the game, you can play as other characters like the Tick, Paul the Samurai, Oedipus, Deflator Mouse, and American Maid. The first title screen of Chapter 1 appears. Then the game starts. You play as the Tick, the Wild Blue Yonder himself. The stage starts off with being on a bus. There's no cutscenes, no explanation, no story, no nothing. At all. The first thing you'll notice is that the graphics and sound are pretty good for Genesis. Then you start off fighting ninjas. Ninjas? Why not robbers or supervillains? No, just ninjas. Fascinating. Why not have Bruce Lee come in and kick the Tick in the face? Anyway, you're just going around punching and kicking ninjas. There's also some combo moves that you can do to the enemies too, like pick them up and keep slashing them, or slap them and throw them at enemies. It's kind of hard for me to do because you have to do some strange combination, like hit these buttons and go up or down or sideways or diagonally or whatever. There's also a way to get rid of more than one enemy on one screen. By pressing all the buttons at the same time, Arthur comes in and knocks them down for you. When you're fighting the ninjas on the first stage, be sure to stay on the bus, because if you fall over, you lose a life. Even when I'm trying to kick jump, I end up falling off the bus. And throughout the entire game, there are at least 4 or 5 songs that they keep using over and over. The music is okay, but do they really need to recycle the same music that is already used 5 times in a row? The next level, you're on the rooftops. I guess if Superman could run on a rooftop, I guess the Tick could too. So you have to get all the way to the end of the screen without losing all your lives. And every time you jump, something immediately hits you. Whether it's shooting stars, bombs, ninja stars, knives, machetes, and other enameable things. And every time the Tick jumps, he looks like he should be in ballet. Seriously. But every time you fall down from a building, you have to do a short boss battle. And I've always hated these. You fight at least 4 or 5 of them depending on who it is. Whether it's the Chainsaw Vigilante, Red Scare, Clark Oppenheimer, or the most dreaded of all, the Running Guy. And yes, he's just called the Running Guy. I guess the Flash was taken, so they couldn't use that, so let's call him the Running Guy. It'd be like if they called the Hulk the big muscular green dude that gets angry. So once you start fighting one of these bosses, it depends on how long it takes to beat them. With Red Scare, just keep hitting him. Don't stop. With Clark, every time you keep punching and kicking him, no matter what, he'll never die. Until you go all the way to the far right of the screen to get some green radioactive thing which looks like something you'd see from The Simpsons. Who in the entire world is supposed to figure that out on their own the first time playing? But the ones I had a hard time with is the Chainsaw Vigilante and the Running Guy. The Vigilante runs after you and slashes you with this chainsaw, and it's always hard not to get hit. But the Running Guy, I've always hated him. Every time you stay still or your hit detection isn't perfect, he'll mow you down like Sonic the Hedgehog going after a chili dog. Once you get through all that madness, the next level appears. You're on another rooftop, fighting more ninjas. You can even pick up certain objects depending on whether you can pick them up or not. The first object you can pick up is a cage full of mice?
What? Who throws a cage of mice at a ninja? Like, seriously. What hero does that? That would be like if Batman threw a cat at the Joker, or if Spider-Man threw a poodle at Mysterio. Anyway.
You can even pick up a mailbox, lion statues, rocks, and even a sleeping bear? Great, another innocent animal getting hurt. You can also play as other characters. Whenever you see a giant white fist, you can play as either Paul, Oedipus, American Maid, or Deflator Mouse. I'm not too fond of Oedipus because she's like a reverse Elektra from Daredevil. She just has brown hair and a yellow suit, but has the same weapon as Elektra. And Deflator Mouse is a huge waste of a character. Every time he gets hit just once, he's gone. He was a huge wimp in the animated series, but it's a waste of game programming. When you play as either of those characters, you can be back-to-back fighting enemies. When the Tick punches, the other character kicks. And when the Tick kicks, they punch or use their weapon. There's also an annoying projectile that you cannot avoid. It looks like roadkill, but I think it's supposed to be a fallen down superhero that fell from the sky or whatever. At the end of some stages, there's a boss battle. Some are hard, some are pretty easy. There's not much else to say about the game. But there's a final boss at the end of the stage, so let's move on. To be honest, if you lost all of your lives and continues, you have to start all the way back from the beginning. I've always hated that. That's why I'm going to use Game Genie to see the rest of the game. What I'm going to use is infinite lives and infinite Arthurs. After a couple of stages, the enemies change to Idea Men, clowns, and aliens. At least the Idea Man went from the show, but clowns and aliens? I don't remember that. When you're in the hospital, the music is very creepy and sounds like something you'd hear in a horror movie chase scene. But it's pretty good. There's one stage where Chairface writes his name on the moon, and you gotta stop him. When I first played this stage, I thought you had to fight him. I just kept punching and punching, but no, it's just like Clark. Instead, you have to destroy his machine. But you have a time limit, and in order to destroy the machine, you have to destroy a few different parts of the machine in a specific pattern while Chairface is trying to stop you. When you're in the clown stages, you distinctly see Kilroy in the wall. Strange. Then when you're inside the circus, you think that the boss battle is going to be like a giant clown or something, right? No, it's the chainsaw guy. Why do you have to fight him again? Couldn't they think of any other boss for a circus? Why not like a giant pie or a giant elephant? No, the chainsaw guy. Again. Then after that, you have to fight a giant, shooting, evil cake. That's original. Next, you're jumping across boats. Why can't the Tick swim? Oh, whatever. Then after that, you're tracking down a clown in a boat, and then you crash in the sand. And then you go into their warp machine, and then you fight aliens. You get to fight at least 2 different types of aliens. The first one kinda looks like the aliens from The Simpsons, Kang and Kados. And the snail-like one looks like Name Gun from Ultra Q, but with 4 eyes.
Oh boy, I'm on the last stage. I've been trying to beat this game since the beginning. I got to beat this. Spoon!
The final boss looks like a wad of bubblegum with tentacles that spits lemonade out of its body and shoots lightning bolts out its mouth.
Yes! I beat it! That is the worst ending screen I've ever seen. Enough said.